Hi all, and welcome to my new video related to Bitcoin education. In this video, we'll discuss about why the financial world is still skeptical about Bitcoin. The common statement is that I heard several people saying most of the financial institutions and the financial world, including financial advisor, are still skeptical about Bitcoin. Therefore, I don't trust it. But in reality, there are several reasons why the financial world is still skeptical. And we can see the five. I individuated these five. First, lack of regulation. Second, it is hard to think differently. Third, not the best fit for complex math and technology. Fear to lose the job. And last but not least, personal ego. Let's start with lack of regulation. Despite countries are regulating Bitcoin more and more, in many countries we still miss a law framework that regulate Bitcoin. And without enough regulation, the finance world cannot offer Bitcoin to institutional investors and to wealthy people. Or it can offer only partially. In US, Senator Cynthia Lummis is proposed a bill recently to regulate Bitcoin. And with this bill will be a right framework about what is Bitcoin. It will be also stated that people can self-custody their Bitcoin and it will help the adoption. And secondly, we are also missing a Bitcoin spot in US. We have several other products in US like Bitcoin futures, but we need a Bitcoin spot ETF. And this is the best way to attract a huge inflow of institutional money. Second, it is hard to think differently. In fact, being too deep into finance is preventing them to understand a disruptive technology in the financial world. Understanding Bitcoin, in fact, requires acknowledging that our current monetary system is broken because it's based by the Keynesian monetary proposition why we should live in according to the Austrian school monetary proposition. And we need better money, hard money like Bitcoin. But sometimes when you are so deep into a topic, it's hard to understand a disruptive technology. We have several examples. Amazon, in fact, didn't come from Walmart. Netflix didn't come from Blockbuster. Airbnb didn't come from a hotel chain. Uber didn't come from a taxi company. Let's go also more into deep. Like, in fact, our minds accept patterns that match our sense of reality and discard other patterns we are not familiar with. Deep thinking and learning is also taxing our energy. Every time we think deep, we require energy to the brain. So we require simplification and reinforcement. In fact, our minds, through repetition and emotion, learn things and then having committed that to memory, rely on this information and often never question them again. So the financial world learn about kindness, we need to spend money, and then they look like that are the basic of their knowledge and the basis. And then we make our mental models the foundation for adding newer information without realizing that the foundation may be weak. So we learn something, we think that is a solid foundation, and we build from them. And we disregard anything that is challenging this because it costs the energy of our brain, and our brain is trying to save the energy. That's why deep thinking is so hard sometimes. We can easily become blind. In fact, in this way, we can easily become blind to important information, disregarding important information or alternative views like Bitcoin about the monetary system. The longer any pattern persists, this is very important, the more comfortable the experts become in explaining the pattern and reinforcing their views, preventing them from seeing things a beginner mind might readily see. In fact, people who are not so deep into finance, they can see easily that our system is broken and the monetary proposition of Bitcoin is much better, and we should live in the world that Bitcoin proposed with hard money, that with programmed scarcity, not easy to produce. In fact, in times of great change, the beginner's mind has the advantage. Without the same fortified foundation of knowledge, the beginner's mind asks why with the intent to discover the answer and not to defend a previous reality because he's not an expert on the topic. So he asks why and he can think, yes, it makes sense. That's why people who it's easier for people who are not in the financial world to say, oh, Bitcoin makes sense than from people who work long in the financial world. And it is one of the main drivers of the creative process. We have the paradox that the expert position is one of the key factors to be creatively destroyed. If you are an expert, it's hard to become creative and to understand disruptive technology. This is the second. The third is also quite important. The people who studied economics and finance, they are not the best fit to understand complex math and technology. In fact, this is a very important concept that Bitcoin value proposition is firstly a monetary proposition. What Bitcoin is the proposition is monetary, that we need, they are the best money that we have ever had, and we need to to live in a world with hard money. But Bitcoin itself is firstly first of all, complex math and technology. Before being in order to be money, it's complex math and technology. And to understand blockchain, a person should understand the following: public key cryptography, elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, asymmetric cryptography, peer-to-peer network, hash functions, digital signature, difficulty adjustment, Merkle tree. They are all very complex topic that almost no one study at the university because it's cryptography, and even if something was hold, but before Bitcoin, very few people studied. But the people who are the most fit in understanding this technology are those who have studied one of the STEM faculties, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. For example, I studied mechanical engineering in bachelor and industrial mechanical engineering in a master degree. And the key reason why the people are moving mostly, why they are the best fit in understanding. First is because they are very good at mathematics. Generally, if a child that in the middle and high school is really, really good in mathematics, generally goes to study one of the STEM faculties and no, not to economics or finance. And because it is where the complex math exists. And in fact, STEM faculties are so difficult that you rarely or never hear someone say, "Oh, I was 17 or 18 years old. I didn't know what to do. Then I studied mathematics or I studied engineering." Mostly you hear, "Oh, I didn't know," or it's possible that you hear, "Oh, I didn't know what to do. Then I studied economics." And to join one of the STEM faculties, there should be a filter, and the filter, one of the filters it is that you have to be really good in maths. Otherwise, you will have huge problems in studying there. And the second, this is so one of the skills. Is one thing is the skills, and second is the training. The minds of the people who studied one of the STEM faculties have been trained for years in complex mathematics, not in the topics related to Bitcoin, but they studied a lot of complex math. The people who study mathematics even more, but also engineers. It was many exams with so much complex math, and the same for science, statistics, and technology. And therefore, it is much easier for these people to understand Bitcoin technology. In fact, as I just said, there is no comparison between the mathematics level studied in economics and finance versus the one studied in one of the STEM faculties. So these people are more fit to understand it, and being also more fit, it makes also more curious. If you reflect on something in the things that you are become good is because also you are curious, and you are curious because you have some skills related to this topic. Could be to art, sport, literature. Generally, we choose things where we are curious, where we think that we can be good, and then we become good because we spend time on that. And also, we can also see that many influential people in Bitcoin world, like Michael Saylor, Elon Musk, or the Central African Republic president, are coming from STEM faculties or from the technology world. They are not coming from the economic or the financial world. That's the third. Let's go to the fourth. I am sure that they fear to lose their job. Why? Firstly, because some not their job, not really their job, but there will be less jobs in economics and finance if Bitcoin value proposition is going further, for two reasons. Firstly, because the Bitcoin value proposition for us is the separation between money and state. So the state should not be able anymore to print money, and the banks should not be able anymore to do fractional reserve banking. Therefore, reduction of jobs in the economical and financial world, and this would allow the society to flourish. In fact, one very important concept is Bitcoiners are not against the people in charge of money, but they are against the fact the in charge of money meaning in charge of deciding how many much money to produce and how money to produce more. And keep in mind that every time a bank is giving a loan, is printing money from thin air because they are not backed or they are just 10% backed by money saved by other people. Second, so there will be a reduction of jobs in the economical and financial world that would allow a society to flourish according to the Bitcoin monetary value proposition. Second, Bitcoiners are saying that they are saving in Bitcoin. And this is also a very important topic. Most of the people are saying they are investing in Bitcoin, but if you really understand Bitcoin, then at one point the people are saying they are saving in Bitcoin. Therefore, you don't need to invest in anything else. Therefore, in institutional funds and financial advisors' jobs are also at risk because according to Bitcoiners, all what you have to do is just move your saving into the hardest money we have ever had and hold them. That's it, nothing more. So that's, or at least, let's say, all the extreme or real maximalists, they say to move all your portfolio, but at least a huge portion of your portfolio. So there will be less money for the institutional world to decide where to put this money. Anyway, there will be a reduction of jobs. Last but not least, personal ego. And this is also another very important topic because each human being has an ego, and generally people who are super qualified, super expert of something, their ego is even higher than the average. First thing, Bitcoin is not new. It is not coming from 2020, 2021, the narrative. The white paper has been written in 2008, in October 2008, is when Satoshi Nakamoto sent an email to the cyberpunk email list. And the Bitcoin mining started the 3rd of January 2009. The people working in the financial world probably knew Bitcoin at least since 2012, 2013, when it was mostly known in the cyberpunks group and from people working in software, because it was mostly, as I said, complex math and technology. So, but there at that point they were just at that time, the financial world mocked Bitcoin, and whoever was saying that Bitcoin was the best form of money, because who was saying that it was just a group of two people, of two were only two groups, mostly were cyberpunks, and the other were like called like nerd, and the financial world was mocked like they didn't know what they were talking about. And later on, in 2016-17, they started to say that it was just a speculation, a bubble, or a Ponzi scheme. And unfortunately, the crash that happened in this from December 2017 helped this narrative because Bitcoin went from 19,600 in December 2017 to 3,000 something around 3,000 in 2018. So it was a big crash. But now the narrative of Bitcoin is changing, and there are more and more influential people understanding Bitcoin, more people who saying that they are best form of money, that it are the future and so on. And I am sure that maybe some of the people in the financial world started to understand them. But it's very hard for them to admit that Bitcoin that is a superior form of money because it will mean that they have been wrong on this topic since many years, while everyone supporting Bitcoin was right all the time. So imagine that you are the expert of your about economy, finance, so it should also regard very linked to money. And for years you mocked someone that was saying, "Hey, that's the new form of money," and actually was also it's the first time that the engineering world is stepping in and say this is the best form of money. So imagine you mock them, you say, what you're saying is not true, you don't know what you're talking about, and you say it's just speculation, bubble, and Ponzi scheme, and then there are many factors moving and in favor of the narrative that Bitcoin is the best form of money, but still for many years you said that it's wrong, and if you admit that they were right, then it means that you admit yourself that you didn't have a clue about money for all these years. And for a people working in the financial economics from 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, it is a very hard, it will be a very hard pill to um, to swallow. And that's why many, they are still skeptical. And that's one of the reasons. So these for me are the 5 reasons why the financial world is still skeptical, and it's absolutely not a reason why to not to support Bitcoin. The best way to support Bitcoin or to understand Bitcoin is to study Bitcoin. As I always say, at least 100 hours of time. Thanks a lot and see you in one of the next video. Bye.